Welcome to the latest Watercolors Aquarium Gallery video brought to you from the Aquarium Rush Studios in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Today we're going to do a follow-up video to a video that we did earlier regarding root tab fertilization. The effectiveness of using root tabs, particularly in soils like EcoComplete or fluorite where they're not necessarily nutrient rich. And there was some questions that came up.
Yeah, so I had a couple things that I wanted to bring up referring to how I go about framing and researching a topic, and then framing specifically why I present information in a certain way.
Perfect. I like it.
Let's start off with, for this video alone, I watched several talks from Dennis Wong and Vin Cuddy from the AGA 2019 convention.
Vin Cuddy's talk was fantastic.
Oh my gosh. That was
mind-blowing.
Clearly a well-informed, well-educated, scientific approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Karen Randall's Sunken Gardens. And I'm going to save this for last because I want to actually keep it on my lap for this. Takashi Amano's Nature Aquarium World.
The master himself.
The master himself. And then finally, Crystal Castleman's Aquarium Plants, which is a plant book that's so good that I like it.
Probably the most comprehensive aquarium plant book I've ever seen.
And on top of that, I didn't include them here because I didn't feel like printing them out, but I actually spent a great deal of time going through scientific literature on research of swampland nutrient uptake because of agricultural runoff.
Right.
To try and frame this in a quote-unquote real-world aspect a little bit. So that's the research aspect. The other thing to keep in mind is we live in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
The majority of our customers, viewers, and stuff, they have hard water.
Yes.
And that presents some specific things. So like, and I'm going to get a little mean here. You ready?
Yes.
When people say EI dosing, I genuinely do not care.
Wow. All right, that's a little harsh. Ready for the comments on that one?
Yeah. EI dosing is amazing and cool. It's a level of insanity I will never want to do, but it was also specifically designed for soft water, and the ideal is RO water. And there's no way I'm going to convince the majority of people watching this video, you know what I mean, to do that. So I'm never going to present information in the light of EI dosing because I don't want to do it, and most of the people I talk to aren't going to want to do it either.
It does take planet aquariums to a certain level, and if you want to go there, there are some good reasons to do that.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to do it? Far from it. So clearly your sources are well thought out and well researched. You make sure you are very well informed. We all know that way.
I
That's one of the things we appreciate.
So we're now going to contextualize a little bit of me, myself, as an aquarist. EI dosing doesn't benefit me, even if I wanted to do it. The things I like are rotalas, crypts, and mosses.
Root beers.
More or less. Or in the case of rotala, EI dosing would actually kill it.
Yeah, we have had people take issue with that term, root feeders, and they're completely misunderstanding what we mean by it.
All right.
So that's going to be a lot of what this discussion is about.
So I tried to contextualize this a little bit. So there are a couple different ways that plants can absorb nutrients. And of course, there's through the leaves and through the roots. So one thing to keep in mind is that most aquarium plants, and this is according to, there's an entire section of the book devoted to talking about this.
Right.
Most aquarium plants are not actually aquatic plants. They're marsh plants. There are pros and cons to working with either strategy, but the way that you work with the strategies needs to function on this graph. And this is actually from Vin Cuddy's talk.
Yes.
So this axis is liquid fertilization, and this axis is as your KH gets higher. Now, you need to kind of work those in tandem in a certain way, because if you start moving into this area here, where you're doing like high KH and high liquid ferts, he referred to that as the death zone.
I like the little skull drawing there. That's a good touch.
And it was really cool. I didn't take the time to like pause the video and like plot them all here, but he put down like EI dosing was up here, ADA was like here, like every like successful strategy fit pretty neatly in this part of the graph and everything this way. And I'm gonna steal his joke. He says, I'm sure there's some guy in Big Rapids that's like right here and he has the best plant growth. But we're not gonna talk about that guy. And I just thought that was really interesting because that really reframed the whole, like when we were testing different fertilizers and so much of that discussion was about trying to work with the water you have instead of against it, and then being able to formulate it on something like this.
Oh, yes, data!
Oh my goodness, it makes so much more sense now. So that's when I'm going to switch over to now talking about, well, how do you work with these different types of feeding methods? Of course, leaf fertilization is liquid ferts, right? And there are pros and cons to that. The big positive of liquid ferts is it's really easy to change what you're doing.
Just do a water change.
Just
If
do a
you
water
overdose, do a water change.
Exactly.
Which sort of is, that's almost like how EI dosing came about, right? Where you overdose, and then a couple of days later do a really big water change.
Yep.
I've been using this sort of phrasing when we get houseplant people in here.
Right.
And I try to explain that to me, once you start doing aquatic plants, it's really hard to go back. Because you get to make nutrient soup and use all the ingredients in the proportions that you want, and your plants can take it up. You don't have to water them, it's just in there, you know?
That's my big advantage is I don't have to water plants.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to remember, but you can really customize your nutrient soup with whatever flavors you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
So liquid ferts can't be understated for those reasons.
Yes.
The big con, and this is why I don't like them, and as a person who really likes crypts, you cannot target which plants are doing that are less competitive in your tank.
Right. Right. Almost as though we're dealing with plants that come from completely different ecosystems
Exactly.
and trying to get along in the same tank.
So that's my segue to, so how do you feed the roots?
Right.
And there's the ADA strategy, which is you just off the bat start with a soil, or you do like the capped potting soil, which I've talked about in another video why I don't personally like dealing with that. If you haven't noticed in these videos, I might have some strong opinions on things.
You've never had a strong opinion in your life.
But I think the root fertilization has some really strong advantages, especially in the type of tanks I keep, because it's a little less hands-off, and the type of person like me who does a lot of water changes but doesn't like dosing, it's a lot easier to not worry about, oh, I might get a spike in ammonia. Well, it's not going to happen in my tank. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then I also think that root feeding is the easiest way for someone who already has the tank to really just start getting into it.
I need to make my plants better. My tank has been set up for a while. What should I do?
Yeah.
Put it to root tip. For many plants, not for all plants. Some
Yep.
plants are just not going to benefit from the root tabs in the slightest. Many of the internal plants that keep on a regular basis will benefit tremendously.
Especially the big, slow-growing ones that are often outcompeted by really fast-growing stem plants that love water column fertilization.
Yeah, and this tank right here is a great example of that principle. So we can target the slow-growing crinum with root tabs. Doing pretty good.
It's magnificent.
I cannot target this Anubias with root tabs, and it looks terrible because it gets outcompeted for all the liquid ferts I put in by everything else out here.
Yes. Well, it's definitely the case that it is an extremely complex topic.
Yeah.
And one of the fun parts to me about this, about just about any complex topic in the aquarium hobby, is there are so many ways to do it. So many ways that are right.
Yeah.
EI dosing is a right way to do it.
Mhm.
It's not the only way, but it is a right way.
And you just gotta be on the
Yep.
correct side of this scale. If you're around here, you are under here, and you kind of gotta recognize that.
Yeah.
Be cautious with EI
Yeah,
dosing. Be
exactly.
cautious with liquid perks in general.
Yeah.
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 And I
Not that they don't have value, they have tremendous amount of value.
they're amazing.
And I think most people should land somewhere in the middle.
I agree.
A little bit of both
Yeah.
is the best method for most tanks, and if you have specific needs, chase those specific needs and use the methods that work for those. But everybody's tank is completely different.
Yeah, and this is the point where I bring up that a lot of our videos lately have centered around the idea of knowing the water you're working with. Because, like, if you don't know this information and you're just dosing stuff in, you could be setting yourself up for failure because you're trying to replicate what someone with very different water is doing.
We are keeping plants that are found in swamps in Borneo. We're keeping plants that are found in waterfalls in Indonesia. We're keeping plants that are found in fast, clear-flowing streams in South America.
Mhm.
And we're putting them all together to try to get them to survive together. Of course, it's going to take some different ways to do it.
The part of the beauty and fun of it is tweaking and fine-tuning, and then you get to that balance, and then it's just coasting, and that's when you get to have the real fun.
Well, I think we can't emphasize enough the amount of research that goes into when you present this kind of data and how backed up this research is. I want to mention those books one more time, all three of them, because they are fantastic books, full of great information. First, Crystal Castleman's Aquarium Plants book. She's got an amazing section in there on the different methods of nutrient uptake. How'd I do? Pretty good, right? Pretty good, right? Of course, the master Takashi Amano himself. If you don't know who Takashi Amano is and you're into aquascaping, you need to learn more. Karen Randall's book, Sunken Gardens. She does such an amazing job of this in this book of making it easier for those of us that don't do all that research to understand it. She kind of breaks it down for beginners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this is the DVD of the Aquatic Garden Association Convention speakers from 2019. Vin Cuddy's talk on Rotala plants, the Rotala death tank, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Is that's where this fun little graphic comes from. So check those out if you want a little bit more information on where this came from.
It's worth the purchase just for that talk alone, but it's not the only amazing talk on that DVD.
It is a great, and we were there in person, so it was a really great thing.
And I would say, like, literally anything written by Dennis Long is valuable.
Please.
Yeah. 2 hour Aquarius.
Yeah.
And he has like some really deep breakdowns on these topics. Pretty much anything that we've mentioned in passing in this video, he's got an entire article about. So definitely go out to his site for that.
At the convention, were you and he talking about this for like until like 2 o'clock in the morning in the lobby that one night?
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Anyway, hopefully you guys are still having lots of fun out there. It's bright and sunny here in Michigan right now, which is something that we really appreciate. So we're gonna have fun. Let's keep those hands wet.